Hi, my name is Vijay Ganapathy and I'm from MuleSoft's product management team. In this video, we will see how organizations can modernize and automate their B2B partner onboarding processes, leveraging MuleSoft's Anypoint Partner Manager and Universal API Management solutions. In our previous demonstration, the link is available in the description. We shared how the fictional appliances manufacturing company Mythical has implemented an omnichannel order management strategy leveraging Salesforce OMS. Mythical uses MuleSoft as the unified integration platform to process B2B orders received from customers as EDI transactions, API requests, and unstructured data formats, providing a consistent and streamlined pipeline into Salesforce to execute the entire order lifecycle workflows. In this video, we will see how Mythical onboards one of their new customers, Glowtech, into their ecosystem, leveraging Anypoint Partner Manager's platform APIs. We will also expand on how Mythical Appliances leverages MuleSoft's universal API management solutions in conjunction with Partner Manager, providing self-service onboarding capabilities for their B2B partners. Let's now check out the message flow that we have already configured for one of our existing customers, Orange Tree, to process the inbound EDI X12 850 purchase order transactions. The message flow configuration contains things like a source endpoint, a source message type, a transformation map to convert the EDI data coming in into a backend application data format, which in this case is a JSON structure defined in this target endpoint process API that sits on top of Salesforce order management. Reusability is a critical aspect that drives how quickly and easily B2B organizations can onboard their new customers and suppliers into their ecosystem. We will be essentially reusing many of the same configurations used in this message flow for Orange Tree as we onboard Glowtech as a new customer. For this demonstration, Glowtech is going to send the EDI order data into the same Mythical hosted HTTPS receive endpoint, and we'll be using the same message type and the transformation maps and the target endpoint to route the data coming from Glowtech into the backend orchestration. One another important aspect we'll be focusing in this demonstration is how MuleSoft's API management solutions go hand in hand with Partner Manager and B2B driven use cases. In today's digital world, customers want more modern ways to engage with their partner ecosystems. The traditional way of attaching your EDI and API message specifications as PDF or Word documents and exchanging back and forth emails with your new trading partners is one key reason why legacy B2B solutions are painfully slow. With MuleSoft, customers can manage and secure B2B endpoints created in Partner Manager from API Manager to apply security policies and governance rules. In addition, customers can take advantage of API Experience Hub to offer a more modern partner engagement experience. Experience Hub is a recent addition to the Anypoint platform through which customers can host partner portals to share their API and EDI message specifications and also take care of access request approvals to enable your B2B partners to connect to your API endpoints with so much ease. Connected experiences is one key operating principle here at MuleSoft. With so many moving parts in building a composable end-to-end workflow, it is especially important to make sure there is a cohesive developer experience in connecting all the dots together. Let's now check how customers can take advantage of MuleSoft's universal API management features for B2B partner integration workflows managed within Anypoint Partner Manager. As you define the message types and formats that you want to support for your B2B integrations, you first define an API specification in Design Center. When we say API, it doesn't necessarily have to be always JSONs and XMLs. You can very well design an API specification that uses EDI, X12, or Edifact, or custom CSV or other data format as content types as well. Once you have the specification, you can publish it right from Design Center straight into Anypoint Exchange, where you can add rich documentation that will help the developers of your B2B partners to understand your message structures and specifications. The next step is going to be to creating API instances in API Manager by picking your API specifications that are already published into Anypoint Exchange and apply relevant policies for that endpoint. You now have an API instance ID that you use it to configure your HTTP inbound endpoint within Anypoint Partner Manager. When you deploy the first message flow using this endpoint, Partner Manager automatically deploys a Mule application in your runtime environment and associates that application with your API instance. From that point onwards, the API requests that are coming into this runtime application deployed by Partner Manager are fully managed and governed by the API policies that you have Once the application is deployed in Partner Manager using the endpoint configured to use an API management instance, you can add that API to your public portal from Experience Hub. Now the spec is available for your partners to collaborate with on the public domain. Mythical Appliances has their MuleSoft environment already set with these foundational configurations with their Partner Manager endpoint connected to an API instance. Let's now review all the steps that we are going to execute through a series of platform API calls to see how Glowtech is onboarded as a new customer. Glowtech is a new account for the entire enterprise at Mythical Appliances. So the first step is to execute an API call to create Glowtech as an account in Salesforce. The next step is to create a partner in Partner Manager for Glowtech with their EDI identifiers and other configurations. Once we have that, we go and update certain EDI, X12, inbound and outbound message validation settings to match Glowtech's EDI specifications. The next step is to create an inbound X12 850 purchase order message flow, reusing a lot of those endpoints and message type and maps configurations created for other partners. Once the message flow is fully configured, we will execute an API call to trigger a deployment of that message flow. While that is being deployed, we will go and create an outbound 855 purchase order acknowledgement message flow, update the mapping and set up the identifiers for the outbound 855 message envelopes, and go ahead and deploy that 855 message flow. The next step would be simulating how Glowtech can log into Mythical's B2B API portal to request for access to it. So the first step is to sign up for an account in the API portal, which then goes through an approval process within Experience Hub. And once the approval is done in Experience Hub, the developers at Glowtech can now request for access to specific API endpoints, and they're going to request for access at a diamond tier. And that comes in for another approval request, which is approved from API Manager. And once that approval is complete, Glowtech is ready to start sending their orders to Mythical. We're now in Salesforce, so Glowtech is not a customer account and they're not a partner in Anypoint Partner Manager either. So what we are going to do is we are going to go into our Postman collection. In the Postman collection, we have configured Glowtech's name as we want it to appear in Salesforce and in Partner Manager as the account and partner. And we have also configured their EDI external identifier. So we are using the same identifier as the ISA and GS. You can create different variables as you're automating your implementation in your environment. The first step is to send in a request to create Glowtech as an account in Salesforce. So let's go send it. And now let's refresh our accounts page. We just got Glowtech created as an account in Salesforce. We're now going to create Glowtech as a new partner in Anypoint Partner Manager. So we are passing in a bunch of different fields, including their ISA identifiers and other values into a Partner Manager endpoint. So we got a created response. So if we go back to Partner Manager, we have Glowtech created as a new training partner with 0 message flows. So the next step here in our orchestration is going to be, we want to make some updates to the X12 read and write settings. So one common example is if we are onboarding Glowtech as a partner in our test environment where we could potentially be reusing the same EDA data over and over again. By default, the interchange control number duplicate check is enabled, but since it's a test environment and we want it to be disabled, so we can use the same data over and over again as we are testing their orders into the system. So I can come here and manually disable this validation check. But since we want to automate the entire process, let's go and see how that works. So now we have set the appropriate property as false to prevent the duplicate control number validation check for the ISA 13, which is the ISA control number. So let's go and send this. So we got a successful response back. So now if we refresh the partners page, let's now go and check the external settings. So now that checkbox that was earlier enabled when the partner was originally created, that was the default setting. And we have gone in and updated it to be disabled. And the next thing that we are going to do is to, for example, here by default, when Partner Manager generates X12 data payload, it doesn't add any line ending between different segments. So the entire EDI X12 data payload is presented in one single line. But a lot of organizations want to add a carriage return and line feed at the end of each segment. Some customers want it, some customers don't want it. So you have that flexibility within the product. So now as a default, this is set to none. And our goal is to change it to CRLF. And we are also making a couple of other changes in that setting. So we're going in here. So as you can see here, we are setting the line ending between segments from none to CRLF. And perhaps there are other flags and properties that can also be changed as we do this step. So let's go and set it. Let's go and check out. We can see that this was changed from none to CRLF as we executed that API call. And let's execute another get call to get the ISA and GS identifiers unique IDs in the system. So next step here is to create an inbound 850 message flow. So let's go and send this request to create the inbound 850 message flow. We now see one message flow under this partner, which is this 850 message flow that we created using this API call. As we go into this message flow, the message flow is created with the source endpoint. This is the same endpoint that is used in our Orange Tree message flow. It's the same message type that we used in Orange Tree. We are using the same for Glowtech. And as we kind of mentioned earlier, it's translating to the same target message type and going to the same order process API. As the message flow is created, it is created without a mapping. You can then add a mapping to that message flow where we have kind of put in the map content in a base64 coded file. And we are sending this request to update the mapping information in the message flow. So now if we refresh this message flow, we now see the mapping is updated. So all greens and the message flow is ready to be deployed. I can do it by clicking this button here, or I can automate it through an API call by triggering a deployment. So where we are deploying it with this comment saying we are deploying an inbound 850 message flow for Glowtech. All right, so we got a 202 accepted. Let's refresh our message flow page. All right, we see that the message flow is being deployed. So as this is being deployed, let's go and start working on our outbound 855 message flows. You can also check the deployment status of your inbound message flow if you are orchestrating and want to check when the deployment is completed so you can trigger your next steps. So now we want to get ahead and create the outbound 855 message flow for Glowtech. So now we see two message flows for Glowtech. So the first one is already deployed and the 855 message flow just got created. And as you would notice, like we have set up how the message is being received from the backend and what endpoint to send the data out to the partner. We are just sending it to a generic endpoint. So we can create the partner specific endpoints also using API calls and associate that endpoint ID when we create the message flows as well. But as you would notice, like this was set up with 4010 855, but you will see that the identifier section is all still empty. So it's incomplete and the map is also not set up yet. So there are two steps to do. First step is to call another API to get the configuration ID of this outbound message flow that was just created. And once we receive that, we are going to patch the outbound 855 message flow to include the identifier for the partner. So let's go and send it. If we go and refresh the message flow now, the identifiers are all already set. So the only thing that is pending is to add the mapping to convert our canonical JSON purchase order acknowledgement into X12 4010 855 PO ACK. So that will be just another API call to send that mapping information. Now the map is updated in the message flow and it is ready to be deployed. So let's go and request this message flow to be deployed. And as the deployment and the activation still happen within Partner Manager, let's now go and check out how Glowtech can get access to the HTTP endpoint with the client credentials so they can start sending the order data to Mythical Appliances. Let's now review the configuration of this Receive Order API. So as we can see here, in the configuration of the endpoint itself, we are providing the API instance ID that is configured in API Manager. So let's copy this API ID, go to Anypoint API Manager and search for it. So this is our API that is in an active status. As we get into the API's details and navigate into policies, we can see that this API has been set up with a SLA-based rate limiting policy. And this API is added from Anypoint API Experience Hub into the portal. So we can see that the B2B order API is added to the portal. So potential B2B customers can understand the API specifications. And that portal URL can be found here. And now we are going to change roles, and I'm going to be acting as someone from Glowtech. So now I'm browsing through Mythical's developer portal where I can see the B2B order API. So the developers at Glowtech can go into the specification and understand the supported resources and operations. What they're going to do is they're going to request for access to log into the portal so they can request for access to the API instance itself. And they've just requested for access to the portal. The administrators in Experience Hub can come into the pending registration request where they see that there is a request pending from Glowtech. So I'm going to go ahead and approve. As that happens, Glowtech is going to receive an email welcoming them to Experience Hub, where they can follow the link to create a new password to log into the portal. Now, Glowtech is logged into the portal as a customer. They can now navigate back into the API specification and click Request, select the API instance, which in this case is test, and they have to create a client application. Let's call it as Glowtech. And here you can see they can also request for what tier they want access to. Let's go and click Diamond. So if I come back to API Manager itself, and if we go into the SLA tiers, we see that Gold, Platinum, Diamond are the available tiers, and Gold is set to be approved automatically. But since Glowtech is interested in signing up at the Diamond tier because they are going to send a high number of orders, they are requesting for access at the Diamond tier. If they had requested for Gold, they would have immediately gotten it approved. So now let's go to contracts, and we now see that there is a pending a request from Glowtech. In addition to the administrators being able to see this in API Manager, they also get a real-time notification through emails informing that there is an API request that is pending their approval. So now let's go ahead and approve. All right, so now that the API request is fully approved, so they can also check the status of the approval by navigating into the My Applications, where they can see that this application name with the appropriate client credentials is in an approved status. Now they have the client ID and secret that they can use in their API call to send the EDI 850 order to Mythical Appliances. So we are in Postman now, where we have a EDI 850 purchase order data coming from Glowtech to Mythical Appliances ready to go. Here, as you would notice here, we have this client ID that we got from the approval request is configured as the client ID, and we have also set the appropriate client secret. So let's now go ahead and send this order out. This request was successfully processed through that API management policy check into the Partner Manager application. So let's now first start off going into Salesforce order management. And we refreshed, and in no time, we got our first sales order for Mythical Appliances coming from Glowtech. So let's go and review this order. So it has all these different products and quantities. So they should be matching the products that we have in the quantity of 600, 24-inch wide. So all of these things are exactly matching as you would expect. So we also see the subsequent order execution. This is a simulated environment where we automatically generate invoices and shipment information to simulate what that experience is going to look like. So with this, let's go back to Partner Manager and check the activity page out. We see that there is an inbound 850 purchase order message from Glowtech. So let's go in here where you can see the incoming EDI data payload, the translated JSON payload that was sent to your process API, and a bunch of these other characteristics like your order number and the buyer's information, etc. So now if we copy this PO number and we can search for that PO number. And at this time, since we configured only the 850 and 855, we only see those two transactions. Presumably, you would be setting up 856, 810s, and other transactions involved in that order's lifecycle, and you will be able to search and get full visibility into all the transactions in that lifecycle. All right, so just to wrap up this demonstration, we saw how Mythical Appliances was quickly and easily able to onboard Glowtech as a completely new customer that didn't even exist half an hour back into their ecosystem and start processing orders from them by leveraging MuleSoft's Partner Manager platform APIs as well as MuleSoft's Universal API management that provides the ability to engage with B2B partners in a more modern way. And for this demonstration, we executed each step of this process from Postman so we could review the outcomes along the way. You can plug these APIs into your deployment process to fully automate the entire onboarding without any manual intervention. And that brings us to the end of this demonstration. Thank you so much for watching.